I was so thrilled this morning when I looked at the front page of the Plain Dealer and saw the huge picture of Vice President Pence standing at the podium for the March for Life in Washington, D.C. And then the whole article talking about the thousands of people who were there for the cause of pro-life. If you saw the whole thing on EWTN, which I hope you did, it was just a marvelous march. All of the bishops that came and prayed and talked, all of the young people who were there, the young people just amazed me. And to listen to the Vice President of the United States say that he was sent by President Trump to represent him at that march, to speak for life. It's the first time in 44 years that the news has put that on the front page. I think we've turned a corner in making the world see the importance of working for the dignity of all human life. It's so important. It's pro-woman, it's pro-man, it's pro-child, it's pro-life. All life comes from God, and the dignity of human life is sanctified by God. So we must continue to pray. I think our prayers are being heard. I think that we're taking strides, great strides, to make our whole nation and our world once again a pro-life world. If we do not defend the most defenseless and those who cannot speak for themselves, then we're losing something very, very great. And so we have to keep praying that it will just go forward like it is. If we live the Beatitudes that we just heard in the gospel, we would have minds and hearts with the mind and heart of Christ. And in all the things that we think and do, we must ask, is it with the mind and the heart of Christ? That's what it means to be clean of heart. That everything that we treasure in our hearts and what we think in our minds is in conjunction with Jesus himself. And so we're called by Jesus to live these Beatitudes. Someone called them the beautiful attitudes. I think I like that better, the beautiful attitudes. There was a story came in the news in 1986. It was a story about two gray-haired men who met very warmly and affectionately at the airport in Tokyo, Japan. They met each other 40 years earlier. The one man, whose name was Panich, was in a cave in Okinawa during the war, and he was holding in his arms a 5-year-old boy, Japanese boy, who had been shot through each leg with a bullet. Hiding in the corner of that cave were two Japanese snipers. Suddenly, they jumped from their hiding place, pointed their rifles at Panich, and prepared to shoot. Panich didn't know what he could do, but thought, I'm going to die doing a work of mercy. And he took the child and laid him on the ground and took his canteen out, and he began to pour the water from it on the legs of that child to bind the wounds and to help him. With that, the two snipers were astonished. They slowly lowered their rifles. And after Panich got the boy stable, he picked him up and he bowed to the two Japanese soldiers in gratitude, and he carried the boy to an American base hospital. Such a touching story, an act of mercy. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. What a great act of mercy that man, Sergeant Panich, did for that boy. What he did was, in 1985, he wrote a letter to a newspaper in Japan, in Tokyo, and told the story that he wanted to thank the Japanese people for the two soldiers who spared his life on that day in the cave in Okinawa, and how grateful he was. Well, it was just a year later that apparently the newspaper published the article, and a year later, Isubichi, who was the name of one of the snipers, contacted the newspaper, and they arranged for a meeting of the two men, and that's why they were meeting in Tokyo that day. The two of them embraced each other very warmly in tears, and they shared what their lives had been since the war. Sergeant Panich said that his one goal, if it could happen, would be to find that 5-year-old boy now and see what happened to him. I don't know whether that ever happened. It would have been a beautiful ending to the story. But I think I share it with you because the Lord says that we have to be merciful. And that means to think, as I said before, being clean of heart also, that we think with the mind and the heart of Christ. I think it was in the story of the To Kill a Mockingbird. The father tells his children that if they want to be compassionate toward others, they have to get in their skin. They have to think with their thoughts and feel with their feelings in order to understand them. And I think that's what happened in that cave. Those two snipers could suddenly think with the thoughts of that soldier and could feel what he was feeling towards that boy. And compassion, an act of compassion and mercy happened. Mercy means to be compassionate with someone who's in distress. And that's what the Lord calls us to do in the Beatitudes. We can look at so many facets of our own life where the Lord calls us to be merciful, to be compassionate and clean of heart. And we ask the Lord to inspire us this week to do just that. When Jesus came into the world, he took on our skin. He got into our skin. He got into our hearts, our thoughts, our minds, our hands, and experienced our lives. And the result was deep compassion and mercy for us, so he could see the struggles that we go through in human life in all aspects and understand what we go through, and then could offer us his compassion. Blessed are those who follow me. You will be happy forever in heaven. And so the Lord always has us to keep our sights on just that. Our journey to heaven will be happy if we are fulfilling these things to care for and be compassionate towards those who are suffering in some way or another. And even if we're persecuted, to offer it to Christ if we're speaking in his name. If we do those things, we're going to be with God. To be blessed means to be with God. And so if we are blessed, God is with us, and with us in all aspects of our life. So it's a profound message in the scriptures today, to be merciful, to be clean of heart, to be like Christ in mind and in heart.